Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Conversations from Stritch. Today is March 24th, 2022, and we are so glad to be back in the studio. It is really great. We were walking over today and seeing the campus greening up and the flowers starting to come out. It feels good, even though it was rainy and kind of cold outside today. I'm also was really glad when I drove in last week to see the generator gone after spring break from the front of the LRC, and I want to thank everybody who was involved in repairing the transformer and getting all of those potential outages out of the way. We feel really good that the rest of the semester and into the coming years we will not have any issues with power outages that lead to outages for being online and all those things. So we apologize again for that. But feel really good about moving forward with that. Also wanted to remind people that we have added the new app. So if you have not gone to the My Lewis app, you might want to switch that over, or it'll automatically switch over for you. We really would also welcome any feedback that you have on the app. There are going to be new features added over the next few months leading into the fall semester, and we'd really love any feedback from you. Also want to remind everyone that it is registration time. I think everybody's aware of that, but just a reminder that summer and fall registration. Summer registration starts next Monday, so if you want to take summer classes, please meet with your advisor, and of course for fall classes the following week. Meet with your advisor, set up an appointment, make sure you know what you want to take. I know it's a really busy time of year for everyone. The Lewis University community is also invited to celebrate service of our employees, the milestones that they have, the 10 and 25 and some even 40 years that they've been at the university. So we'll have the 29th annual celebration of service recognition ceremony. It'll be held on Wednesday, April 6th. The ceremony will take place in the St. Charles Borromeo Convocation Hall beginning at 3:30. We really look forward to being with everybody and honoring those staff members who have reached these milestones, staff members and faculty who are retiring. And we will also recognize faculty and staff in several prestigious LaSallian awards, which honor their commitment to the Catholic and LaSallian mission and our core values. The awards that will be presented that day are the De La Salle Medallion for Exemplary Voluntary Service, the De La Salle Medallion for Excellence in Community Engaged Learning, and the Distinguished LaSallian Educator Award. So we really look forward to celebrating with the community. Chris and I was last night, I was at the Social Work Honor Society induction ceremony, and really enjoyed that. But it is a month of celebrations, and I think Chris and I, sometimes we have to split them up, but it's an exciting month, and we'll be celebrating our faculty and staff, but then also a lot of student celebrations coming up over the next 5 weeks. So Chris, I know that there are some ways that we want to recognize some of the accomplishments of our faculty and staff as well.
Yeah, and I agree. It's been, hello everyone, great to be here, and it is just the beginning of the season where we are getting to celebrate so many members of our community and their accomplishments. I really look forward to that event, and those mission awards especially are always a moment of real inspiration to see the members of our community who've done just extraordinary work in service to our mission here. Before announcing any other events, I also was thinking when you were talking about the app and giving us feedback on it, just a reminder that we have the Ask Us at lewisu.edu, and if you're interested in our topic today, our visitor, Dr. Tina Bobo, and the program for workforce diversity in nursing, please send in a question to that email address so that we get it before, while she's on here with us. Also, please, you can use that email to give us suggestions about anything. It's the overall suggestion and question email for the campus. So we get the messages when we're not broadcasting, and try to respond to everything that comes through. It's also, maybe we haven't really suggested this before, so I'm going to do it right now.
Go right ahead.
Without preparation, that it's maybe a good way of suggesting future guests on the show.
Oh,
and
yeah, that's a great
idea.
idea.
I mean, we have a lot of fun talking about who we might want to invite to join us on this show, but it would be wonderful if people could suggest things that are going on campus that we are so proud of, and a way to highlight that for the community and to honor that work that people are doing. So some of that work includes the musical, the final, I think it's the final production of the semester, the Return to the Forbidden Planet, written by Bob Carlton. Will have performances April 1st through 3rd and April 7th through 10th at the Philip Lynch Theater. Performances are 7:30 p.m. and Sunday matinees are at 2:30 p.m. in alignment with those dates. And then there's also a special matinee on Saturday, April 9th at 3:30 p.m. So please come on out and see that. It's a really fun show and a great highlight to our students' acting and performance abilities in the musical. Congratulations to Dr. Elizabeth Sartell, Assistant Professor of Theology, who is co-organizing, along with 2 scholars from Bard College and American University, an upcoming virtual conference from March 31st to April 1st. That is a collection of innovative and emerging work by national and international scholars working in the field of Islamic philosophy. So that sounds like a really exciting conference, and congratulations to Professor Sartell for her work in organizing it. Congratulations to Dr. Laura Franklin, the Dean of the General Education and the College of Humanities, Fine Arts, and Communications, who has been named a fellow by the American Council on Education for the academic year 2022-2023. Following nomination by the senior administration at their institutions, ACE fellows were selected through a rigorous application process that ended with 46 fellows from across the country being selected in a cohort-based leadership development program that combines retreats, interactive learning opportunities, visits to campuses and other higher education related organizations, as well as, the primary aspect of the program is placement at another higher education institution, working directly with the president and the leadership team at that institution. So Dr. Franklin will be doing all those things intermittently throughout next year while still being a member of our community. It's a great honor, and we offer her our congratulations. Lewis University is excited to be participating in a virtual symposium from April 5th to 7th, presented by the Council of Independent Colleges and the Gilder Lehrman Center for the Study of Slavery, Resistance, and Abolition at Yale University. The symposium includes a keynote featuring several prominent historians, Edward Ayers, Lonnie Bunch, and Elizabeth Hinton, moderated by David Blight. Extraordinary, really high-powered group of people there on that panel, and also features institutions in their work in the Legacies of American Slavery grant project, of which Lewis is a proud member. So our own Tennille Allen will be presenting with Delinda Herod of the Fairmont Community Partnership Group about their work together on April 7th from 1:30 to 2:45 in a session called Voices of Change and Community. That panel presentation is in conjunction with work going on at Meredith College in North Carolina. And my understanding is that it's the work that they're doing in Fairmont is a collection of oral histories from some of the members of the community associated with the center, and students have been collecting those oral histories. So Dr. Allen and Delinda are going to be presenting together, and I love that we're doing it that way, that one of our community partners is part of the presentation in this national conference about the legacies of American slavery, and so I'm really excited about that work. So our academic affairs email will probably be sending out an announcement about that today or tomorrow with registration information about how to register to attend the whole conference. It's free for members of the Council of Independent Colleges. So a lot going on with athletics.
There always is a lot going on with athletics. We've talked a lot in the last few weeks about this transition from winter sports to spring sports. And we still have a lot going on in terms of spring sports. So a couple things coming up. So men's and women's tennis compete today against the University of St. Francis at the Challenge Fitness Center in Lockport. They play at Roosevelt tomorrow afternoon. Tennis is having a great season so far, so if you get a chance, get on over to one of the indoor events. Hopefully in the next few weeks they'll be able to start playing outdoors. Women's bowling competes in the GLVC tournament this weekend, beginning with Drury on Friday. And men's volleyball plays tonight at Purdue Fort Wayne and then hosts Loyola at 7 p.m. on Saturday. That event on Saturday night is an event for preemies, so they're going to be doing some special things related to fundraising that's done by both volleyball teams for premature babies. So come on out and support us against our local rival, but also support work on trying to increase our ability to serve preemies. Baseball hosts a doubleheader at the University of Indianapolis through the weekend, beginning tomorrow at noon. Our women's lacrosse team travels to Ursuline to compete tomorrow afternoon. Men's golf competes Saturday and Sunday in Kentucky, at Barry Park, Kentucky. And the men's and women's track and field compete this weekend versus Missouri S&T. I will say for those track and field athletes, they move directly from indoor to outdoor. I feel like they wrapped it up about a week ago and they just keep going. So I think it's about a 20-week season for those people that are doing track. Softball travels to Illinois Springfield for a doubleheader on Saturday. And men's lacrosse, we were with Joe, Coach Peruzzi last week on this show, and we talked about this significant match that they had against Indy. They lost last night, but I was watching the stats, and with about 5 minutes left in the first half, it was 3-3, went into halftime down 4-3, and then ended up, I think, losing 8-5. So, but against one of the best teams in the country. So I think we'll maintain our top 20 ranking after that. They're going to host Walsh on Saturday afternoon at 3 this weekend. So lots going on with sports, lots going on in the community, and of course we're still continuing to want to update. It's so interesting to me, Chris, that we celebrated the anniversary a couple weeks ago of when we kind of changed our model with COVID, but we started the show also with COVID.
Oh, that's true.
In many ways to try to communicate with the community. We've kept it going. But you have some stuff, ongoing information for the community about COVID and how we're continuing to address it.
I do, and the usual graphic too, but that's true. And hopefully our COVID focus is a little shorter today than it was a couple of years ago when we first started doing this. So our cases in Will County are at 57 per 100,000 per week, which keeps us in the orange zone, but is actually the lowest it's been since they started publishing that data on the CDC website. So still very positive. The positivity ratio is 1.8, and the community transmission level is low. Those are all similar, and again, similar to last week, about 5 positive cases in our community last week and 1 so far this week. And you can see also the vaccination rates are quite similar to what they were last week. Will County went up 1 percentage point. That's the highlight of the change. And again, no big changes with policy either. So just a few reminders about where we're at. Face coverings are required only in classrooms, labs, and other specifically identified locations. Booster status reporting is required on the app, so if you have not done that yet, the deadline was this Monday, so please update your booster status through the app that we talked about earlier, either the old version or the new version. They both work right now. Unvaccinated individuals must submit testing results before Thursday at 6 p.m. to avoid fines and registration holds. We continue to have weekly testing at Memorial Hall from 9 to 4. And always remember to use the app to report positive tests, symptoms, or to upload vaccination or booster information. We will likely have more to report and talk about next week as we're beginning to think about the conclusion of the spring semester and on into the summer and the fall, and to having a little bit clearer picture about about how things will play out over the next 6 months or so. But for now, that's all we have. And so we're really
excited to have our guest with us.
Yeah, we're really pleased to introduce our guest, Dr. Tina Bobo, who joined Lewis University on November 1st. It feels to me like it was like 2 years ago, the way time moves in at these times. She currently supports students in the grant-funded program designed to improve nursing workforce diversity, which we will be talking about in a minute. Starting next year, she will teach in the program, in the nursing program, and continue to support the students. Dr. Bobo has a BSN from University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, and an MS in nursing from the University of Maryland, and a DNP from Lewis. She's worked as a nurse for 35 years, largely in the Chicagoland area, with positions focused on anesthesia pain service, complex acute and chronic pain, and critical care. We're very pleased to welcome you, Tina. Great to be with you.
Thank you, Dr. Sint. Thanks for having me.
It's so great to be with you.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. Yeah.
Thank you.
So we want to hear about the grant program, but I thought we'd maybe start with just getting to know you a little bit better as a new member of our community. So maybe just begin, tell us a little bit about your practice. As I was just talking about, you've had a long, storied career in the area and a few different hospitals. And
yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. It feels to me like it's been about a year, but technically it's only been about 4 months and here at Lewis, and I felt welcomed from my first day, my interview with both of you. The environment at Lewis is so welcoming, and I just felt kind of like a divine intervention to be here, honestly. I came from 21 years at Edward Hospital in Naperville, where I worked with anesthesia pain service. I had responsibilities with not just day-to-day rounding, managing patients with complex pain issues, but also policies and procedures, educating. I worked very closely with our nurse residents and doing lots of training and education, even just bedside, day-to-day training with those nurses. I was responsible for a lot of projects there, especially related to opioid safety. I did some, we were the first hospital in the Chicagoland area to have medication take-back programs. That was part of my DNP project. Residency was a huge project for a residency, and then for my project I did some take-home opioid disposal research for that. And prior to that, I've only had this is my 5th job as a nurse. I think it's kind of different these days where people don't seem to have that kind of longevity.
Yeah, well, I'll look forward to hearing more about that because I think that is such an issue. I mean, this whole grant is around workforce development, especially workforce development among certain populations. But just in general, it seems like right now there's so much agency work in nursing and all that stuff. But maybe you could just, I'd love to hear just a little bit about how that changed your career with the opioid thing, because it seems like in the last 10 or 15 years, I mean, your specialty is kind of palliative care and trying to help people with pain, which of course we need drugs to help us with pain, but there's such a fine line between it turning into a real crisis, which it turned into in this country, and the appropriate use of drugs to try to kind of help people with their pain as they're moving through certain issues. So could you talk about maybe what you saw over those 20 years at Elmhurst, just briefly, in terms of the change? Because I know it all probably felt like it happened overnight, but it happened over a couple decades.
Yes, I mean, I do feel like we were more liberal with our use of opioids in the past, like 20 years ago, where, you know, a lot of patients, if you were to have surgery, you would get mostly opioids. We focused more on that. Now we focus on more of a multimodal approach. But I think being in the specialty, we didn't see ourselves in that light. I felt as if we kind of had the knowledge to be able to use opioids appropriately. Certainly, we try all other approaches and use opioids kind of as, for the most severe pain, right? Which were the patients that I was involved with. But I feel like we were knowledgeable and a little bit more expert at managing that. The physicians or providers that I worked with were very conscientious, and I remember that being a point of contention where we would get patients who were on a high dose of opioids and they would try to refer them to our outpatient clinic, and our providers were very apprehensive about prescribing very high doses. So being in that specialty area, we had more knowledge about it, and I do feel certainly, and I've watched a lot of the specials on documentaries on that, like the OxyContin Purdue documentary, and I was the whole time saying, well, no, we didn't do that. We were very careful with how we prescribed. And
interesting.
Yeah, but when you are the patient, right, and as a nurse, this is kind of what it is that we do, is to care. You can't watch someone suffer and say, oh, well, I'm really worried about you getting addicted to this. We have to do what's best and what the patient really needs based on what they really need.
Yeah. So, but you're here and you got hired on because of this grant. So maybe, I don't know.
Well, can I ask one?
Yeah, please.
Another question. In your career, how often did you interact with students from universities as a?
Yes.
Tell us, how did you experience that before coming here, and did you know Lewis students in that?
Absolutely. The Lewis students always had the best reputation, and you guys didn't pay me to say that. We, as part of my role as clinical nurse specialist, educator was kind of part of that, right? Okay. So I got to meet all the new interns, and over the last few years, we would get interns like every month. We would have to do this rigorous educational program to get the students up to speed. And we were always excited to get Lewis grads. Honestly, part of the reason that I even chose to come to Lewis for my DNP was because I hear so many great things about the university. So yes, lots of interactions with new graduate nurses and really understanding now what their experience is as a student, and for seeing them on the opposite side of that. It's been eye-opening for me, what we expect from them when they're in the clinical setting.
Yeah. So we have a national nursing shortage. We have a Chicago and Will County nursing shortage. And on top of that massive nursing shortage, we also have a shortage of nurses of color, right? And so maybe you could talk a little bit about this grant, in some sense, maybe your sense of why it was put into place, and then how it functions here at Lewis, and then I know we're going to meet one of our students. So, but maybe you could just talk a little bit about the grant and where Lewis fits into this, and how we play a role in trying to help this situation.
Yes. So the nursing shortage, my personal experience, and part of the reason I feel like I'm here is because I got to experience that firsthand, being at the bedside in the hospital where we always, felt as if we gave extraordinary care. And the care that patients receive is impacted by the nursing shortage. On top of that, of course, the COVID pandemic highlighted the issues we see with the social disparities of health, right? So patients who had COVID were, the strain on the hospital was tremendous, and then compounding that was the issue with the nursing shortage. So at some point, for me, it became compelling that, from what I could see, we had to do something. And for me, it felt like I could do something more by coming to help get more nurses into nursing. And again, seeing the impact of the social disparities of health. As a nurse, we see people come in, laying in the bed on clean white sheets. They all look the same in the same gown, and we sometimes don't appreciate the circumstances of that patient's life, right? So understanding that person, their language, their culture, their life, their neighborhood, the food they eat, the jobs that they have, the money that they have. We don't sometimes kind of appreciate that as a bedside nurse. And I think that to me was another alarm that we really need to work on getting more diverse nurses into nursing. Male nurses too, because as a patient, you might come into the hospital and say, I really would prefer to have a male nurse, depending on, the situation. So, so all of that was highlighted, the fact that there were, the percentages of patients who got very ill from COVID were often patients from underrepresented minorities and socioeconomically challenged patients. I think, that compounds the efforts for HRSA to put funding into getting more nurses, diverse nurses into the profession. So the HRSA grant, there's the slide and the students. I have to admit, I was not here when you guys did all the hard work to apply for this grant. So I certainly feel like I need to give kudos to all of the hard work that you guys did at Lewis to get this grant. Dr. Daisy Sherry, along with, I know I shouldn't name names.
Well, please.
No,
Dr.
please name names.
Dr.
We
Bill
love to
I
Seiler.
was just going to insist that you do know.
Yeah,
Okay,
no, we
Dr.
love to
Bill
name names.
Because when you
Seiler.
say you guys, you
Yes,
don't really mean us.
No,
yes.
we didn't do anything.
Okay.
Well,
so-
Chris did some of it, but I didn't do anything.
Okay. And again, I apologize, but I know Dr. Daisy Sherry, who's the Associate Dean for the College of Nursing and the Director of the Nursing Workforce Diversity Program. I'm the coordinator that works with her. Dr. Bill Seiler, who helps write the grant, Dr. Bill Chura, certainly. And I know certainly Dr. Julia Kokless and the whole team for the College of Nursing worked really hard to get the grant written and into place here at Lewis. So congratulations to the whole
So
university.
Tina, you see on the screen, and it's really great to have this graphic up there, $2.1 million. What does that actually fund? I mean, tell me about how that impacts students. What is it doing for the community? I think it's such an amazing work that was done on the front end, as you said, by Daisy and Bill and many others. But tell me where that grant money actually goes.
So primarily, of course, the goal is to fund nursing students to be able to successfully complete the BSN program. So 20 students were selected. I think a total of 36 pre-nursing students interviewed. And there was a rubric that's provided by HRSA that we use to be able to kind of select those students and to interview them and make our final selections. So 20 students have benefited from this scholarship, and the funding will continue for them. We do reports, of course, with the government. That's kind of part of all the fun of it, are the reports that we are constantly preparing. And then, so in addition to the scholarships, funding goes towards supporting the program, efforts to get out into the community to be able to recruit more nurses into nursing. So our efforts to go out, to the high schools and to say, hey, this is why it would be great. This is what's great about being a nurse, and this is what's really great about Lewis and the nursing program. So efforts to support the students, to be able to get successfully through the program, and really more funding for all of the programs that we have to put in place to make sure that the students are successful to get through the 4 years of the program.
Yeah, that's great. And
So what's an example? So when you go out into the community, where are you going? And are you going to high schools or?
Yes, so we are going to high schools. We're saying taking students. Actually, the message comes better from our nursing students than from like Daisy and myself, who are more like the mom versions that are not really, they're not as receptive to information from us. We work very closely with the LAMP organization, which encompasses the Student Nursing Association, the Men in Nursing Organization, and of course the mentoring program. So those students go with us. We do a slide presentation. We take all the Lewis marketing materials that we can gather and talk to students, and they're very receptive to that. We are also doing some community service work. Right now, we're working with the Community Lifeline Ministries. And we're doing an outing with them coming up really soon at the Second Baptist Church in Joliet. We're going to be doing that also, and we try to get the students involved. And we did do a volunteer event at the Bolingbrook Health Center, their Christmas party. We had students participate. In fact,
We talked
Ariana
about that on the
participated.
show a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. So we do have one of our students that's going to join us.
yeah.
So do you want to introduce Ariana?
Sure. Ariana Estrada is one of the 20 HRSA Grant Scholar recipients. And I have to say, one of the best parts of my job is working with the students, of course. And I was a little apprehensive about that because I have a 25-year-old in that age group, that age I remember. Ariana is an exceptional student. She's brilliant and kind, so poised, but a quiet leader who has taken on a lot of responsibility and even assisting her peers in the program, and she's such a joy to work with. I certainly enjoy her. So,
Well, thank you for joining us, Ariana.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's great to meet you. So tell me a little bit. I'd love to hear. We just asked Dr. Bobo about how she goes out into the high schools, but could you tell me a little bit about how you first heard of this program, and maybe even some of your thought process? Like, did they come into your school and then you went home and talked to your mom and dad and said, I don't know, or did you always know you wanted to be a nurse? Could you tell me a little bit about how this process went?
For myself, this process went, I did not see them in my high school, but I did see on the Lewis website that they posted a HRSA grant, and I looked more into the information. I emailed Dr. Sherry. We communicated. She told me about the scholarship, and I applied. A main reason why I want to become a nurse is because of my grandma, and recently I lost her, but I feel like the experiences I've had with my grandma being in and out the hospital has made me become a future leading nurse for the future. I saw her in the healthcare setting, coming in and out of rehabilitation, and the way that the staff was not very, they didn't give her enough attention. There was a lot of stuff that the facilities lacked, and it made me feel as if I want to be a better nurse in the future so I can provide patients with better care.
Yeah, that's great. Do you have anybody else in your family that is a nurse? I mean, did you have role models? Do you have an aunt or a uncle? There aren't that many men in nursing. That's another thing we're working on. But do you have people in your family who you've looked up to that have been in nursing, or was this kind of a leap into something that your family's not used to?
I do have one cousin that is a nurse. She graduated from St. Xavier University. Right now she is a traveling nurse, so she tells me all about her experiences in Florida, and now she's moved to California.
Wow. Yeah, I know that the traveling nurse situation is really significant now with COVID. But first of all, I also want to say again, congratulations. As Dr. Bobo said, it was a really difficult program to become a part of. Only half the people that applied were able to get in. But congratulations to you, and we're excited to have you.
So Ariana, tell us a little bit about your first year. What are some of the classes that you have taken, and how have they been going for you?
The first couple classes I've taken during semester 1 were Anatomy and Physiology 1. I've taken Academic Reading, which is a required course if we didn't pass the entrance exam test, or if we got like a certain score on it. And I've tested out of the math portion. I'm kind of ahead because I took community college courses during my senior year. So I was taking Theology 1 as well as the biochem, which we're required to take. I think the most difficult course coming in for my first semester was anatomy and physiology. I think
Yeah.
a lot of nursing students when I came in told us that this is one of the hardest courses that we're going to have to take as a nursing student. It was anatomy, and then during our junior year, no, our sophomore too, we're going to be taking pathophysiology, which is another course I have to look out for in the future. However, coming into Lewis the first semester was not as scary as I thought it was going to be, because we had our meeting with the NWD's other scholars, and it was just, we got to create these bonds. So when we came into class, we knew how to study, we knew how to interact with other people, like we knew each other, versus if I would have came in Lewis my first year on my own. These bonds that we created prepared me for my first semester, my second semester, and the years to come.
I was actually just going to ask you about that, Ariana, and you've already kind of answered it, but I would still like maybe talk a little bit more about how community is formed in the group and how it connects to the larger BSN program, the students in the whole program, and so on. What kind of things do y'all do together?
Well, recently during our last meeting, they actually took us around to see the stimulation labs in the nursing department. It was a very eye-opening experience when you get to see the equipment and the stimulation dolls that are on the beds. They showed us how to work a blood pressure monitor machine, which was a very fun and enlightening experience.
That's great. And I think that is, it makes such a difference for, I think, every college student. I mean, if you have even one person that you know when you walk onto campus, it makes it easier for you to have 20 people that you've met and you've had at least some interactions with. I just think that is, it's a great, kind of step up. And certainly, I hope that these coming difficult courses, that it goes well, and that you have some study partners to help you through those courses, because I think that helps out a lot. So is there anything you would say, Ariana, to somebody that's in high school, like Dr. Bobo she said she was going out and heading out to see some Joliet high schools in the next couple days. Is there anything you would say to the high school student about this program that would how would you sell it to them?
I would sell it to them by first telling them that if you don't want to come into college alone, we're a family already. I feel like Dr. Bobo was saying early, she's kind of like the mother to our group. We have such a strong bond where we all feel connected.
It's great. It's great. Tina, do you have any questions for Ariana, or comments on what she said, or giving us a little more background on what you see from the teacher side?
Yes, I think it's wonderful that the students support each other. That is key, right? So when all is said and done, our relationships are really important, right? It's going to matter. She's going to be an incredible nurse, and she'll be successful in the program. Academically, she's very successful right now. So when it's all said and done, her memories about her experience here are going to be so positive, based on, again, the environment at Lewis and the relationships they're able to make within their group. And we try to encourage that. We had our meeting late last night, and we even had Leslie Colonna
Sure.
came from the art department, and they did a clay molding kind of therapy session.
Oh, great.
And Daisy and I were both kind of a little curious about how they would respond to that activity, because we normally have very structured. And they all enjoyed it. It was really interesting to see. It was kind of like a therapy session for them, and they just watched them interact together and enjoy that. to have kind of a break and a time to kind of wind down.
Sure.
They all enjoyed it, but it is really a great, incredible group of students, and they're all exceptional, and it's exciting to think about them getting through the program and finishing at Lewis.
So, and as you talked about just briefly, you're going out to recruit the next group of 20?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, is that just so I mean, that's what you're in the midst of right now, right?
We want to recruit more than 20.
Right. So both advising these 20 students into their
Yes.
sophomore year, right? You're in the midst of that, and then
Yes.
you're also in the midst of recruiting.
Yes, we want to recruit for years to come. We want to, our efforts even, we're trying to focus on, students that earlier, younger,
Right.
like maybe even sophomore year, so that
Right.
they're taking the courses they need to take to be prepared to even apply. So yes, we want to go all over the universe to recruit students to Lewis.
And just to clarify one thing, the grant really is designed for this broadening. It's
Yes.
not just about bringing in a certain
Yes.
number of new students, but it's about completely reconceptualizing the way we
Yes.
look out to the community for potential
Right.
nursing students.
Yes.
As well as also, it seems to me, to that point, that broadening, because I know this is part of what you do, is there might be some students who come from underrepresented groups who, again, don't maybe have somebody in their family who's been in healthcare.
Yes.
And so to be able to give them this sense of this is, you can do this, first off, and we'd love to have you in it, and it will make such a difference to healthcare for so many people, for you to become a nurse, you
Right.
specifically, Ariana, or
Yes.
whoever.
Yeah.
So I think that's a part of what you're trying to do, right? Get into
Yes.
certain school districts,
Yes.
make sure that people are aware of the program, make that pitch for why a diverse nursing professionals, diversity helps everybody.
Yes, absolutely. The goal is too, once the students are successfully through their program, we'd like for them to work in the communities that they
Right.
lived in, right?
Right.
So, again, getting them back into their own neighborhoods to, even to focus on health and wellness, to teach their families, their communities about health and wellness is really important too. So they're going to come out of this, the Lewis BSN program with all of this knowledge, and certainly the ability to go to the bedside and work as a nurse, but also to look and get involved in their communities. They'll have had these experiences where we've gone, taking them into the communities, right? To teach and to, really focus on health and wellness and recruiting, even younger children into, this is what health is about, and we love nursing as one of those professions where you can make a difference.
Yeah, it's great.
And I feel like before we close, I just want to repeat or reinforce some of the things that Dr. Bobo has said, which is that we've talked a lot about the amazing program itself and Dr. Bobo's work and Daisy's work and the way we've created this great program. And I'm so pleased to hear Ariana's experience is so positive with her colleagues. And I just want to add that the nursing program at Lewis, its mission, its history, its quality has really helped create this incredible foundation for this success. And then really the overall mission of Lewis as well. I love that story about Professor Colonna, an art professor who has, work to do, teach classes to teach, art to make, coming over and being a part of a community that support the students last night. It's just such a Lewis story.
It is.
And I love that. And so it's all working together in this really positive way. So I appreciate that. And Ariana, I hope, I'm really pleased to get to meet you, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of the semester. I don't know if
Thank
you
you.
want
Yeah.
if you
Yeah,
have
well,
any final things to say
Yeah, if you have
before we
anything to say
close.
to her, but I want to just say, Ariana, so grateful for you taking the time this afternoon to join us. It means a lot to us to hear from the people who are really benefiting from this grant and from this program. And as Dr. Sint said, so excited that you have a community of people that you like and enjoy, that you're, the students that are in this cohort with you are people you're enjoying getting to know. I think it means a lot in a college experience.
Yes.
Yeah.
So thank you, Ariana. We'll sign off with you, and we're going to wrap up. I want to say again, thank you to Dr. Tina Bobo for joining us and for kind of shepherding this program. Really appreciate all the work you're doing. We're grateful that you joined us today. We hope you have a great weekend. Many blessings to you and to your family.